great for milking cows and horses for wound repair. So it's a great salve for that. Really great. I mean, like, it's a lot of uses in it. I mean, rope is still being made by hemp. You know?
Yep.
And one of the best places to grow hemp, Eastern Africa.
Why?
I don't know. They just have some really great growing down there. They grow great marijuana that goes through most of Europe anyways. Yeah.
What countries should we be weary of receiving hemp from other than China?
Well, yes, you got to be China about hemp because they like to sneak things in. China's terrible about reading labels. They killed 600 kids in India because they got glycol and glycerin mixed up in cold medicine.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that was a couple years ago. This is why the FDA doesn't want drugs coming in from other countries, is because they have no control over these things. And that's the big fight, not making drugs coming from Canada as cheaper. The FDA said until we have control of the drug process. Now, re-importing drugs from Canada because they're cheaper makes no sense to me. It's another political issue altogether, but Czechoslovakia makes, I think, probably the best hemp out there. And they have a really great, they have one of the biggest CO2 extraction processes I've ever seen. Like when we were importing it from them, I can get you the information where we were importing it from, but it was 2 kilograms of essential oil. CO2 extracted essential oil.
Wow.
Not degummed, not de-waxed or anything. It all had to go through a de-waxing process, you know, the winterization, which is the wrong term. My pet peeve as a chemist. Winterization technically is called glacial distillation, not winterization. Cannabis people didn't invent it. It was invented a long time ago, since there was ice out there and we could take alcohol, put it out in the ice, and take off the water on top and make really strong alcohol from it. So, I mean, it's not a new process. But probably, or a lot of stoner science came from the ability to say that you invented something because they don't want to talk about how they're really doing it because they want to keep things a secret. There really is nothing done in marijuana that is new, that has not been done somewhere else.
But the stuff that you get like from Czechoslovakia, then, is this organically grown, non-GMO hemp strain, or is it?
Oh, you'll never know that.
Huh?
You'll never know that.
Okay.
I mean, the idea that organically grown means no pesticide is false. Organic growing can use almost as many pesticides as non-organically certified. The difference is organically grown has to let the pesticide level sit for an amount of time before they can sell it. So they have to understand the degradational breakdown of pesticides. GMOs are, I mean, the definition of GMO is genetically modified organisms. We're all GMO'd. From humans, dogs are the greatest thing that I can give an example of being GMO'd. They've been bred, they've been put together, they've been specifically said this dog and this dog to make this. Now, GMOing food to make it Roundup resistant so we can spread enough Roundup to kill everything around it is terrible, because it's not the GMO part of the food that's killing you, it's the pesticide part of the food that's killing you. Having something GMO does not hurt you. Over-application of pesticides.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, something that has been modified, but obviously everything's been modified.
If it's stuff from clone.
What's your view about as far as getting loss of genetic material from
GMO'd? Okay, so this is the thing that, let's go back to genetics just a little bit. Genetics are great, but genetics are a backpack. So unless that backpack serves a purpose, it goes away. Having large yielding corn plants, large flowers on marijuana are not a good thing for the plant genetically. It takes away their nutrients, it helps them, they can't survive. So if you take a hemp plant and you GMO'd it, so you got these big old buds on it, bred it, crossed it, inserted some genes in it, because Casper is going to be changing GMO completely really soon, 2010 technology. We can like do a viral vector and GMO things like why they grow, which is really cool. But it will shed all that information back to its base genetics. Whatever it doesn't need, it's going to shed. My genetics instructor described it as a rucksack for a soldier. A rucksack for a soldier, you go into every soldier's rucksack and it's going to be somewhat different. You're going to have the basic survival gear, but every soldier's rucksack is going to be different. Same thing happens when we GMO a plant. That plant over there is going to be a little bit different than that plant over there because each plant is going to start shedding what it doesn't want and what it doesn't need.
So when you see the labels for GMO, is that like BS then?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much. I can say this. I'm OMRI certified.
I've seen those
Things.
Non-GMO.
No GMO or something.
The kombucha.
It's only kombucha tea in Washington State that is
But-
non-GMO.
So non-GMO doesn't mean non-GMO. What the GMO, non-GMO means is they haven't inserted any foreign biological material into it. So to make GMO corn that's without that Roundup resistant.
Well, then maybe that's what we need to do is say man-made.
Why? I want to put jellyfish proteins in cannabis and have glow-in-the-dark cannabis. Come on, bioluminescent cannabis? Who doesn't want that?
What we're talking about again, literally, to clarify is we're talking about non-Roundup ready pesticide.
We're talking about non-pesticide resistant crops. Non-herbicide resistant crops is where that's bad. So the idea is I put a gene into this crop that doesn't allow the herbicide to kill it. And so now I can just go and spray as much herbicide as I want around it, killing all other plants. So that just that one will grow. No! No!
That's what our fear is.
Yeah, that's totally what I fear. I'm actually doing, this year I'm going to try it. Hopefully it might work, it might not. The great thing is like how my farm is set up is I don't need to make a lot of money and it's kind of, I'm setting up for selling the property more than I'm about making. But I'm actually going to grow cannabis in the soil with potatoes and certain flowers to keep away the bugs. So I'm going to try to co-crop some things together. The potatoes will start breaking down the nitrogen in the soil, and and give air pockets for the cannabis plants to actually grow into. Hopefully. And then certain flowers produce natural pesticides and smells that keep bugs away. I'm going to try it this year. Good luck. I hope it works. Worst case scenario is I turn the entire crop into oil and I have potatoes for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. But that's actually what I'm trying.
Doing that for hundreds of
Yeah,
years.
exactly. So
you want
why?
your garlic and your chrysanthemums and your produce because they keep the bugs away. And
Correct.
Growers do that
Oh, we should be doing that. You know, I mean,
Right.
cannabis does. I mean, marijuana sucks crap out of the soil tremendously. You know, and so like just putting in potatoes and peas and things like that that grow in the ground and grow up will rotate the crops around, because I can't rotate my crop around under the system. I grow cannabis every year, so without crop rotation,
right.
it's going to deplete the soil.
To do that.
You know, now, yeah, granted, I put in like 6,000 pounds and 10,000 square feet of waste cannabis this year that I've tilled into the soil. I'll probably end up putting maybe another 5,000 pounds. I got 8,000 pounds from dab dudes to bring up to extract the rest of the oil out and put it. I just go dump it in my garden. My liquor control board officer is very nice to me. He says, "Yeah, just take it in the back. I just don't want to see it. Just till it into the soil. You'll be fine." So I literally dump barrels and barrels of waste cannabis out there and till it in the soil. The soil's so soft now. You walk across it and you're like sinking in. Even during that frozen time, I was still sinking in. And it, you know, it puts a lot of great stuff in it. But yeah, what is GMO and what isn't GMO is really a hard discussion, because everything has been GMO. Because if we have selectively bred something, such as a dog, the dog has now been GMO'd. If we went out to our cannabis garden and said, that plant is nice, I'm going to clone that plant, I'm going to select it out, I'm not going to allow any other genetics to grow around it, and I'm going to take that back to seed, and I'm going to plant that seed. That plant has now been GMO'd. So the idea of non-GMO food means that I haven't put a non-naturally occurring genetics into that plant. That's what non-GMO means. So, but that's not really what GMOing means in the scientific terms. So this is why science and public are not getting along, because the public doesn't understand what science is saying, and science is like, what's just science? We're going to stick with it. It's all about definition. It really is. My computer decided to update only at 18%.
I'm going to officially introduce you to for our video series, and then we can start the synergy class. So
Okay.
we can sit up here. All right. So today we have another course in our education center here at 22 Too Many in Olympia Hempfest Central. Today, Josh Haney is going to be here talking about the synergetic compounds and how they work with the body. Many people in the cannabis movement have been told that it's all about the terpenes. Although terpenes are important, as they are, the THC production pathway, they are not the whole story. And Josh Haney is going to be here today to tell us a little bit more about this and about a lot of other questions that we have about this amazing plant. So, without further ado, please welcome Josh Haney.
Okay, so my computer decided they wanted to update when I opened it, so all my visual aid PowerPoint is off. And maybe we'll add it later to the lecture. So we were starting some pre-discussion on it, but there's a couple terms I'd like to introduce to everybody here so they understand my definitions. Epigenetics is the big one. Epigenetics is the genetic change over time by introduction of a chemical, a drug, an environment. Everything gives you an epigenetic marker and changes your genetics as you go through it. Cannabis does do epigenetic changes in your body. So remember that when I say the epigenetic changes are why that people are concerned about young people smoking, about mothers smoking, about people using it, because it's unknown the epigenetic change. And that's really, you don't know. Does it cause birth defects? We don't know. Does it do anything harmful? We don't know. I mean, that's really what we don't know. It's hard to press anybody that's had to study more than 20 or 30 people, and it's only case studies. It's not been actual sit there and study it. It's been like, oh, this person used it and they had this effect. So it's kind of like, yes, they used it and their cancer went away and they did better. Was it caused by marijuana curing the cancer? We don't know for sure. We have some people that say yes, we have some people that say no, but we don't have a good study because of the classification of marijuana anywhere out there. We've had some great studies done and some great information, but we don't have a good study. The other term is called alkaloid, which probably you guys have not heard much of, but you know the drugs. Opium, cocaine, those are alkaloid drugs. Our body works off alkaloid. Serotonin, everything that's basically working in your body is an alkaloid. And what cannabis does is just a little known fact. THC doesn't get you high. And everybody's going to argue, I feel high when I smoke. Yes, but THC does not get you high. THC is an alkaloid uptake blocker. It actually blocks your ability to uptake alkaloids, allowing for more concentration of those alkaloids in your system, and those your natural body's alkaloids is what's getting you high. So that's why a 200-pound guy can get high on 10 milligrams, and a 100-pound woman can get high on 50 milligrams. Because THC does not actually get you high. And Patrick's over there looking at me like I'm crazy. And everybody looks at me when I say this is crazy, but this is what's been proven in the research so far. Come on in. You can just walk in front of the camera.
We don't bite.
We don't bite.
I already know they don't bite.
We don't bite.
She likes it.
Yeah. So for the one that just walked in, I'm going to repeat what I just said. THC does not get you high.
Really?
Really? Really? So, and this is...
I kind of been listening.
Yeah, so the wonderful thing about this research is it explains why it's so different and the non-toxic effect of marijuana. It doesn't actually do anything but is a blocker of the CB1 and CB2 receptors. It binds with them, and then the molecules that your body produces that's supposed to make you high and feel good, they can't bind there, so your body puts other receptor sites out, and those bind with that, and they said, wow, all these receptor sites are binding, so I must be feeling really good. And so your natural body's chemicals is what's making you high, which is totally different. Question?
Yeah, 'cause I know sometimes when you're smoking and sometimes it's your environment, it actually changes your level of high, so to speak. If you be around a group of people that are really upbeat, positive, and if you're smoking, if you smoke something bad, whatever, you almost feel like you're on a natural high when you're around that. And if you're smoking something really good, but you're around a bunch of negative people, that kind of brings it down for you.
That is exactly true. Because what your body is producing, and I have a picture of it, and it's your bliss molecule. It's what makes you feel happy all the time. Your body produces it to give you a natural feeling of happiness, because if our body didn't produce it, we wouldn't care.
Is that why sometimes when you do it medically, when you fight yourself, a lot of times it doesn't feel like it's actually working?
And that's pretty much probably why marijuana has been a social drug. I don't like to get stoned by myself necessarily. I've done it. You watch a great movie, but that's a social thing. But if I'm just sitting there, unlike heroin and cocaine user will sit in a corner, get stoned, get high, all by themselves, and not really want other people around them. They want to but if you're getting high on marijuana, because it's your own natural body's high, you want to have that social reaction. You want to have that good food that makes you feel good. You want to have that person around you that makes you feel good. If you got that person around you that makes you feel good, you're going to get higher than being by somebody negative. Laughter is, and this is what the newest stuff coming out about what's normally referred to as the endocannabinoid system, but it's the androgynous cannabinoid system is the actual real wording for it. It is the way the body works with cannabinoids, is a translation of it. It's not a separate system, but we translated it to the general public as a system because to get the federal regulations and people to accept it as a medical product, we kind of had to fib a little bit as a scientific community.
Welcome to government.
Welcome to government, yes. Nothing the government ever says is true. I really wish my PowerPoint would come up, but I'm only at 26%, so we're just going to accept that my computer probably won't. Yes. And so let me go into the first stage of this. Is going to talk about the CB1, CB2 receptors. How do we process them? How do we do the endocannabinoid system? I want to get past that because we're all stuck with the endocannabinoid system. So the CB1, CB2 receptors are natural body receptors that accept different serotonin, alamide, other alkaloid-based compounds that our body produce. They then allow for us to use those and block those, and they're all over the body, in the nervous system, in the immune system, and it works great. And so THC blocks that, CBDs block that. But what happens when you take and you just smoke pure THC? How many of you guys have taken like a 99.9% THC hit? Yes, yeah. And what do you guys feel like when you smoke pure THC? It's not the same, is it? You're reaching for your butt.
How do you know it's pure THC? What would you know it's pure THC?
Testing, you can test for pure THC. Like I can crystallize THC out and get a 99.9% THC crystal. You're starting to strip everything. Trichomes are pretty much stripped. CO2, BHO. If you guys have any question about extractions, please holler. Because I'm an extraction expert. But CO2 and BHO work the same method of extraction. What? Oh, not. You have to actually make a THC crystal. And then you can smoke it, you can inject it, you can eat it, you can take a bath in it. I mean, I don't know if anybody ever wanted to do that, but you could. I know that I work in large batches of oils, like 150 pounds of cannabis at a time, making 5 gallons of oil at a time. If I spill a little bit of that alcohol-based oil on my skin, and which I do by accident, sometimes by accident, but you know, a little bit, I can get super high just from the absorption through the skin. But it's not actually. It's not actually like the THC. Even though it's great, it's just a blocker of your own immune system. The other chemicals.
Is the cause of the high, not what makes you high.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. It does cause you to be high, but it's not actually what's making you high.
It's stimulating your receptor.
It's a blocker. So
Is it blocked?
So if I let's just take a person's body. If I handcuff you down, you still can move around. But if you handcuff both down, you're like, crap, I'm like stuck. So if I told your body that your one arm is handcuffed down and your other hand has to do something, it's blocked too. Now you can't do anything. Same thing happens with your cell receptors. You only have so many receptor sites. So you have 10 receptor sites. You smoke some weed and you get 5 of them blocked. Well, 5 of them then become active, and the cell's like, well, crap, I got all 10 activated. But your body only put out enough chemicals to activate 5. And so now the body says, well, I guess I didn't need all these 10. So it takes away 1. Now you got 9 cell receptor sites. So you smoke more, and you get high. But the body says, well, I didn't need to be that high. So it takes away 1. So you smoke more, and you get high. The body says you don't need it, and pretty soon, you're having, like my little brother, Dabadiah, having to smoke a full gram dab before he even fills it. Dude, he did an infused Keith joint, and he didn't even feel it at my house the other day. I mean, it probably was 40% THC. He did like 3 of them.
Now, is that what they can say it's not addictive to?
It's not addictive, no.
Does your body actually replace?
Correct.
Block?
Correct.
With that, then with others that we listen to talk about the downgrade. So if someone consumes a lot of cannabis for a period of time, then the receptor, instead of heightens it, downgrades it.
Correct. Yeah, so smoking oil and dabs all the time will lead you to smoking oil and dabs all the time. This happens with every drug. Marijuana, alcohol, food. Food can be a drug. Anything that you feel good about or makes you feel good, if you keep doing it at heavy levels, it can make you not feel good after a while. So that bliss molecules that make you feel good about it keep downgrading it. Because our body naturally wants to feel happy. We take antidepressants in our society because we don't feel happy. So that's why taking antidepressants and smoking some weed makes you feel really great. You know, that and those chemicals that are making you feel better with weed actually help with the uptake. And that causes the epigenetic change in our cells of less cell receptor sites. Our body saying we are feeling good. So by our body feeling good, we produce less of the downers. So dopamine's a downer, serotonin's an upper, and we produce so much dopamine to make so much serotonin. And if we get high on dopamine, so when you stop smoking weed and you're used to a high level of serotonin-like chemicals in your body, and you stop and you get nothing but dopamine, you get angry, you get upset, little things irritate you, until you smoke weed.
What's the theory about this when you're little? When you start smoking weed, you block all those receptors when you're little, and then when you stop smoking weed, it all comes back to that level of receptors at that age.
No.
You heard that rumor though, right?
Yeah, no, that's not how they work.
Yeah.
That happens at any age.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Where the problem is in young people, that if a young person under the age of 24, and that's like really weird for a lot of people to understand the concept, but your body basically grows to the age of 24. You're doing changes in your body. Your brain chemistry is changing to the age of 24. So up into the age of 24, taking any type of external changing to your body, like high amount of caffeine, high amount of alcohol and high amount of weed can actually stop the pituitary gland development within your body itself, so you can never produce those chemicals ever again. So smoking a lot of weed when you're young can cause that problem. Now, if you're doing it medically, that's great. It's better than whatever medical condition you have to put up with. If you're doing it recreationally, and I say this to all my young friends, do it on the weekend. Spend the week actually doing something. Smoke pot on the weekend. Smoke a joint when you get home, but don't smoke 5. Have a beer when you get home, don't have 5. You know, it's not, I grow processed weed. I have no problem with people using it. Just don't overuse it, and if you're very young, you know, and we don't know the changes. We haven't done that research.
Well, they're doing research because they won't fund it.
That's exactly it. So, anyways, so we actually have discovered an alkaloid in the next stage of the topic, and we're very loose about this because of a small amount of people. But yeah, I know, it's just updating. It's long.
I was just having an electronic conversation.
Were you saying like update?
You see it, Blake?
It's only at 32%. So we've discovered a new alkaloid in sativa, and rather than worrying about the name, let's talk about what an alkaloid is and why it's important that we discovered an alkaloid that we did not know that was in cannabis. It is. So think of chemistry as big magnets. I have a magnet over here, magnet over here. Certain magnets can bond in certain ways. So oxygen has 2 magnets on it, nitrogen has 3. And an alkaloid usually has an oxygen and a nitrogen, so it can bond and make a protein folding change in the body. And this is why alkaloids are important in chemistry, because they're one things that actually can so an enzyme is the hardest concept. I mean, it's an easy concept, but the hardest concept to actually wrap in your brain. So an enzyme is a long chain of proteins, 50, 60, 70,000, sometimes over 100,000 long. And they all have bonding, magnetic bonding, and they fold up. So the first thing is as they produce, they start to fold up, and they keep folding. And so they fold up into a 3D structure. But then that 3D structure, when affected by an alkaloid or another molecule, fold up into a tertiary structure. Now that has 4-dimensional things that happen to that. And when it unfolds itself, because that magnetic bonding is really weak, is when it releases that chemical back out. So that chemical degrades through oxidation, such as alcohol does, marijuana goes from its reduction state to an oxidized state. By the way, another chemistry term there is no decarboxylation. If you ever hear a weed chemist talk about decarboxylation, they aren't really a chemist. It's oxidation and reduction form. There is no such thing as decarboxylation in any chemistry book you'll ever find. It's another weed term. Yes.
It's the one that I heard.
Well, you're losing a carboxylic acid and getting a hydroxyl molecule, but that's called oxidation reduction. It was discovered in like 1750. It's not new. It's why you get vinegar from alcohol. And if you heat up vinegar really hot, it will go back to alcohol. Yeah, if you reflux vinegar for a long time and get it really hot, you can lose the CO2 molecule and get rid of and reduce it back to alcohol.
You said ferment too.
What?
They can ferment vinegar itself.
Yeah.
Cat turns into like a raw
Yeah. It will revert back. So it's called oxidation and reduction, not decarboxylation, but that's okay. That's okay. It's just one of those chemistry to weed science terms that happen. And, you know, I'm sure somebody described it there, getting rid of the carboxyl acid, and then they're like, oh, it's decarboxylated. Let's try and make it simple. And then it became a term. You know, I actually, when I got into weed, I kept hearing people talk about decarboxylation. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? 4 years of chemistry, never heard that term. And that's why, it's not a real term. But, so when it oxidizes out and those magnetic markers go away, then the enzyme cannot fold back up. The cell receptors can't fold back up, and they don't reactivate. That's what's happening with all this stuff. It's like a big magnet. Like I said, CB1, CB2 receptors are not actually cannabinoid receptors. They are your natural body receptors being blocked by cannabinoids. The thing is the alkaloids in your body, well, the THC has what we call hydroxyl holding on it. So the active form of THC has oxygen, looks like alcohol, binds with your cells almost the same way alcohol does, and holds it there. And then the alkaloid comes in with this nitrogen and hits it right here. So that chemical doesn't actually bind tight to it. And so when the enzyme unfolds again, that chemical's now still available for the body because it hasn't broken down. So the reason why it's important that we have alkaloids, that we've discovered some alkaloids in marijuana already that we haven't been looking for, but we have now, because a lot of weed science is happening because we can. We are seeing that whole plant extracts have a lot of alkaloids, phenols, tocopherols, things that really affect us that make it work. That's why when smoking a pure THC should get me higher than a kite, you smoke it and you're like, I feel crap. I don't like this. You know, I don't know if you've ever been that high where you just don't want, but everybody that I've talked to, and I've never done it myself, smoked like a pure THC crystal because I don't want to, says it's not the high they like.
So like Marinol, when they made...
Yeah, if pure THC worked, yeah.
That's why the results back from the pharmaceutical version of Marinol, Sativex, had such adverse effects.
Correct. So that's exactly why. So it's not THC that we're looking at. People the reason we focused on THC was it was a drug enforcement thing. It was not for actual, this is how it's working. It was drug enforcement. They had to focus on a chemical that was specifically to marijuana, you know? And so marijuana has all these other great chemicals in it that are not. Some are specific to marijuana, but a lot of them aren't. So you take marijuana and you take some other drug or some other natural plant enzyme, and it actually synergetically works together. It makes that chemical that you're taking more bioavailable because it doesn't oxidize and break down. Very few things in our body do we actually use oxidizing them up. Antibiotics. We use antibiotics and they go out and fight bacteria and they actually break down in our body. So the concentration of antibiotics in our body are very important. But things that are cell receptors, so pain medications, marijuana, THC will help pain medications work longer. THC, the sterols and phenols that allow for your body to oxidize and antioxidants in your body that you get. And marijuana has one of the highest rates of antioxidants out there. Tocopherols have been really shown to fight cancer really well. Getting a whole plant extract, such as RSO oil, exposing it to your body, cancer, works better than a pure THC extract because of the tocopherols in it, the antioxidants. And the antioxidants working alongside THC actually fix things. THC has activated the G-gated protein channels within your nervous system, which I don't know if you guys know anything about G-gated protein channels, and stop me if you have questions. But
I probably do, but I don't think I want to get that far into the weeds.
But G-gated protein channels is basically how your body opens up. When these channels open up, they cause a large amount of osmosis back and forth between the cell membranes. In your nervous system, your G-gated protein channels are pumps that allow for you to pump back in the and exchange the ions, the potassium ions that you release back in. So I don't know, this is a little known fact. You guys, anybody know the speed of thought? How fast is the speed of thought? And actually, it's not that fast. Yeah, 200 miles per hour. That's the fastest you can think is 200 miles per hour. That is the transmission from you. So if I hit my toe here, by the time it registers my brain, it's 200 miles per hour. That is the speed of thought. It's not instantaneous. No, but they're caused by that cell membrane. So speed of thought is regulated by a release of potassium ions in the nerve cell, allowing for the dendritic process chemicals to be moved forward. So one of those few chemicals that we use that actually affect our nervous system in abundance is caffeine. We have a natural amount of caffeine in our system. If we don't have it, our nervous system doesn't work. Caffeine makes our nervous system misfire, which keeps us awake, but that's what caffeine does. When these degated protein channels, THC will open them up, and so your nervous response system, when exposing to THC, lowers it. But when you open up these degated protein channels, all the other chemicals around it can come in. So if your immune system, which is really hard for people with brain injuries, people with nervous injuries, for their immune system to enter the cell and do things to the cell. It's very difficult because the cells are so close. But when you take THC, it binds with these cell receptors, saying open up, and now the immune system, the body's repair system, because the cells in the nervous system just freaking shut down, you short-circuited, threw a penny in the circuit. You know, you opened it up. Now everything comes in and says, I can repair this. So this is why cannabis with THC and CBDs work the same, similar pathways, help with people with nerve damage. It's not because THC came in there and was a miracle drug that had this and made this cure. It came in bound with the cell receptor site, the CB2 receptor site. So CB1 is the nerve receptor that makes you feel high. CB2 is the degated protein channels that allow for your cells to exchange things that it needs to exchange. So it's getting the chemicals and the nutrients. The nerve cells that are damaged are getting chemicals and nutrients that they can repair themselves with. Oh, somebody has to get going.
Sorry, no.
Oh, yeah. All right. No problems. But this is why THC is not the whole game. THC helps synergetically with whatever's going on. If you are sick and you're taking a cold medication, how many of you guys smoked some good weed, took some cold medication, and felt so much better in the morning? Dude, I do it. Because it just kind of opens your body up, you fall asleep, and then your body repairs itself. Because your lungs are all clogged up. Don't have to smoke weed, eat it. I mean, oil, rub it on you. Activated oil is great. So that's the thing about, like, smoking weed activates, so natural weed form in oxygen environment is inactive. It's got the carboxylic acid onto it. It's got all that on there. So I really wish I had a picture of the chemistry, but basically think of weed as a big ball with its functional group. So you guys understand the difference between terpenes and terpenoids? No.
I know a lot of people think that the smell comes from terpenes.
Some smells do. Most of your smells in cannabis come from esters. So terpenes are important because, well, terpenes come from the production of turpentine. And turpentine came from pine trees, so terpenes were originally discovered in pine trees. It had nothing to do with weed. So then terpenes are a long-chain carbon molecule that's in plants, basically. It's a anywhere from 12 to 15 long, sometimes shorter. But terpenes are smells, a couple of them, pinene, lemonine, are smells. Most of them are non-aromatic, and they are plant lubricants. They allow the plant to transport shit around. That's what they do. They really do. What? Kind of, yeah. Well, plants do it through osmosis. And so terpenes kind of like, that's why turpentine works so great as a solvent. It's because it's pure terpenes. Yeah, it just holds shit around. It's a solvent. Most terpenes in the plant are solvents. Now, that goes to terpenoids. Terpenoids are very much specific, more specific to cannabis than anything else. Terpenoids have a functional group. They have a hand out there that actually grabs onto things and do things. Terpenes, they kind of float around the body as lubricant. They're really great for you. There's nothing wrong with them. Lemonine, I mean, like if you drink a good lemonade, it's great. If you really love terpenes, go eat some maple syrup. I feel better when I eat maple syrup. Some Hawaiian pancakes, maple syrup. Maple syrup has like a bazillion terpenes in it. But if you're looking at terpenoids, then we're looking at functional groups of cannabis. So CBDs are terpenoids. THC are terpenoids. CBGs are terpenoids. Things that have hydroxyl or a hand or a magnet that grab onto something and hold and bind it to something. Terpenes don't bind in your body. Terpenoids do. This is the big difference. So terpenes don't really give you a big synergetic effect. The terpenoids do. The terpenoids then don't really give you a big effect. The alkaloids that they bind to the cell receptor gives you that effect. So really, it's whatever your body can produce gives you the best effect. And whatever you take with it. The drugs, the chemotherapy drugs have been shown to do better. But the terpenoids, such as CBDs, have this little hand that'll come in and bind with their cell receptor. So if it comes along, the thing sits here and then binds with it until it's oxidized out. So the terpenoids are very important. Terpenes are taste, some smells, but really look at the esters if you really want to get into smells. Most of your smells have to be esters or a benzyl compound. And if you can smell it, it's aromatic, and it's usually an ester or a benzyl compound. That means it's aromatic and you can smell it. Benzyl compounds were originally named aromatic compounds because they were our smells. And I mean, and those can vary widely, and smells, I mean, what we smell makes it very important to our body because, I mean, if something tastes good, we like it, and so smells are important. But yeah, so I mean, like, terpenes are great, they're great, but what you really want to extract is smells, those esters. Have you guys done good CO2 oil? If you taste the difference between CO2 and BHO? Yeah, so guys have any questions about extracts at all? Have you ever done extracts? Smoked them all? Everybody smoked extracts?
No.
No?
I'm a novice to all of this, and I'm not really in the business. I'm just getting told.
Well, so extracts are great, and do you guys know the difference between extracts and concentrates? You guys, anybody? Nobody?
Probably everybody else in this room.
Would rather hear it,
Oh,
regardless.
and so extracts, I wash it with a chemical, I wash it out, and I have an extract. I then take that extract and concentrate a chemical out of that and makes a concentrate. So we've labeled concentrates and extracts as the same thing, but they're not. They're not equal.
Well, it can't be if that's the process.
That is the process. You make lemonade, you extract lemonine. Okay? That is what it is. So I run an extract concentration system. And I make a pure terpene. It has zero taste to it. Nobody even knows it's there. It's CBDs and CBGs and CBNs and all that fun stuff. It has really no taste to it. Because all the esters have been already pre-extracted without getting BHO waste. So all that great flavor has been taken out already. Does it still get you high? Yes. Does it feel the same? No. People don't like it as well because of the flavor and the smells and the things like that. The lack of. So that's what led me to figure out why is it not the same? Because, THC is there. But the smells have been stripped. So CO2 and BHO basically use the same mechanism of extraction. Guy, he works up at Solus Farms. He's got a PhD in trichome extraction from University of Missouri. Great guy, Felix. Doesn't really remember me. I interviewed him like twice for 2 different companies, and they didn't want to pay his price, which he was worth it. So I think Solus Farms is going to make some really great, outstanding BHO here coming up with them. And I'm not trying to plug them. I'm just saying, like, the guy knows what he's doing, and he explained this to me when I was talking with him. And can you imagine you can get actually a PhD in trichome extraction? Isn't that cool? I mean, yeah. So CO2, you get to supercritical, and it becomes a triple phase state, and actually freezes the trichomes off, and then washes them away. BHO, you get into the simple critical state, you pump it down 130, 140 psi, you release the energy, take the CO2, BHO from butane from a very high energy molecule to a very low because you let the energy go away, and then that crystallizes the CO2 the crystals and washes them off. That is not even though they call it a hydrocarbon extraction, it's not really a hard hydrocarbon extraction. It is a freezing wash process. This is why Rainier Extractions does that cold alcohol minus 40 degrees wash. Same principle. So this is why when working with concentrates and extractions, people are seeing a huge difference when they work with whole plant extractions, RSO, and partial plant extractions, CO2 and BHO oil.
So, someone that you're talking about, like smoking, those that are interested in, again, oil forms and cancer, the difference then is what we get out of it is more of a lot more components or compounds in the plant oil.
Yeah, so you get specifically you get a lot of the Tocopherols, the Phenols, and the Sterols in RSO. Now you get a whole lot of chlorophyll too. Hence RSO being dark green.
That's okay, right?
It can't hurt you. You eat a shit ton of chlorophyll every day. How many times can you eat an apple and some lettuce? I mean, it's not going to hurt you. What? It's great for the digestive tract. Eat some cannabis and take a good crap. I mean, that's what we all do. I mean, talking scientifically, it's the truth. I mean, like, I always know when I work with the plants way too much. My system's clean. But, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with chlorophyll. Nothing at all. But this is why RSO is so much more effective on cancer patients than the CO2 and what? No, because it has the Tocopherols, the Pherols, and the Sterols in it, and those are all antioxidants.
One other question then on this, because a lot of different perceptions, so to speak, on what is a whole plant extract, and the different methods of doing that. Some, say that the long-term extraction sitting, or it's the alcohol's removed, or a flash. What's a whole plant extraction? When I get done extracting my material, it's white. It goes from green to white. It is completely gone. There is nothing left in that but cellulosic material. When you extract cannabis out wholly, you get tocopherols, phenols, sterols, you get the chlorophyll, you get the pectin, you get the alpha and beta sheet binders, you get everything from this plant. Whole plant extract RSO is probably around 50 to 60% THC. The rest is all that great stuff, and about 30% chlorophyll. So there's this 20% in the middle that is just there. The terpenes, amino acids, tocopherols, phenols, sterols. Sterols are like for plants, they produce sterols that are like estrogen and things. Why does indica make you go to sleep, and why does sativa make you stay awake? Can anybody answer that question? Because I can't. We don't know. We don't have the research. It's not universal. It's not. But in general, rule of thumb is that one plant makes you go to bed and one keeps you awake and energetic. What compounds in that 20% of compounds there is doing that?
So are the building blocks that you're referring to?
What? It's about 20% of
But I'm
stuff.
saying the difference between one and the other is they have specific amounts or key compounds.
They could. We don't know. Sativa has a new alkaloid. They don't know what it does, but it could do something. And that sativa alkaloid could be why sativa makes you energetic. It could be acting the same as cocaine does to your body. You can have marijuana cocaine type thing. I don't know. But I mean, we don't know. I mean, honestly, the answer is we don't know what it does because we haven't studied enough. That's the honest answer in a lot of the scientific community. We don't know because, well, it's there. We've talked to 20 people that used it and said, hey, I feel better with it. So we know it does something, but what does it specifically do? I don't know. You know, and not very many people do. But whole plant extract, so like I do a whole plant extract in my extraction process. I wash it with alcohol. The first distillation is getting rid of the chlorophyll. And when I get oil out of that distillation, it is the most liquidy oil that I've ever seen. Like seriously, it's like water. The tocopherols, the Phenols, Sterols, all that stuff that held out to transport in the plant are in that oil, and it just makes it thin as can be. It's pure cannabis. Nothing is in there, but it's just pure cannabis. So what's in those compounds that make it? And I've isolated those compounds out, and then I make a nice oil that, like, but we're working on that stuff. You know, those are what really, those compounds in the middle there, as a scientific community, is what we're really interested in. That's what we really want to know. What are in those compounds that make it different? Because when smoking the oil with those compounds in it, and smoking the oil without those compounds in it, and when using it, it tastes different. It gives a different high. Taking away 20% of these compounds, what does it do? Now, RSO is gooey and stuff because of its pectin. Plant pectin holds all the cells together, and when we wash it out with alcohol, we remove some of the pectin, and then that makes it RSO gooey. Thank you. Is my brother out there?
There's definitely a Haney brother out there for sure. Because it's like I'm looking through a mirror right now, and you're looking.
Oh no, it's my twin brother.
The other side.
So
He's alive.
yeah, he's alive.
Isn't that weird?
Yes.
Come on in, Haney brother. Welcome.
So yes, I have genetically. God loved the world so much, gave one Jesus and two of us.
Oh,
So we're your
nice
savior.
kid.
I don't know where we are on time.
No, you're good, man. You got like 2 hours right in total if you really want to go. So can I ask though?
Let's just open it to question answer because I'm really like talked out of what.
Your process then of then how you create your full plant extract. How long approximately does it take for you to do that? You mentioned something to me earlier about some the different processes.
So for me to make my full plant extract that is alcohol extracted, it's an 8-week process from start to finish. 8 weeks. I know that seems like a lot, but there's a lot of there's 9 steps in between because you, unfortunately, and believe me, I've tried, you cannot just extract and make whole plant extract oil and put it in a distiller. You will plug that thing up, you will make goo. My worker called it the baked beans because it was chunky and it was just gross, but he smoked it. He died. I'm not saying Ben has good taste. I'm just saying he smoked it. But it's an 8-week process, and I've ruined probably 40 gallons of oil. I mean, I'm serious, 40 gallons. I mean, probably. Probably. I was so. If you can't break a few eggs, you can't make an omelet. And I was using a very specialized, it's called a white thin film evaporator. So there's different types of distillers. And distillation, it's a pseudoscience, honestly. It's science, but it's pseudoscience. So a lot of distillation is art. I mean, I hate to say this, and I really, really do. There's an art form to distillation. There are artists in every type of thing, in extracts. There's an art form people can tell. And you're like, how can you tell when it's doing that? I can just tell by the smell, the feel, the sound that this is happening. Same thing with distillation. You can tell by the sound, the smell, the vacuum, the things what's going on. And a lot of molecules, and I've distilled everything from biodiesel to drugs to fish oil to cannabis now. I've distilled a lot of alcohol, I'll tell you that much too. I mean, I make a good weed shine if anybody ever needs some. I have these big stainless steel tanks, and every once in a while I'll distill some alcohol in them, and I've been doing weed in them, and yeah, it picks up that weed flavor.
So when you do that process, I'm just again, I'm curious because we get many folks that we've been seeing talking about how they do their process and that. When you go over the process and test results, I mean, the difference for somebody that flashes it with alcohol and cooks off the alcohol.
So like, it takes about 2 washes to break the cellular wall, pretty much. First wash, if you do a quick wash. Now I do what's called a soxylation system. Some French science named Soxylate did it in the 1750s, but it actually dates back to Egypt. You distill the alcohol off into a container. When it fills up enough, there's a siphon on it that happens, and it siphons it all the way down, and then it goes in and soaks it and out. So I soak it 3 times. And I pretty much, when I get the stuff out, it's white. Guaranteed, no, you're not getting high off this shit. It's pretty much why my liquor control board officer's okay with me putting it anywhere, because he's like, I know there's nothing in that. You're not smoking it, nobody wants to smoke it, and then just get drunk if they try to smoke it. You know, because there's always a little bit of alcohol left in it. But a first wash, so an extractor has figured out that if I get everything cold, I can wash it over quickly and get the trichomes just to come off. So you have, a lot of the terpenes, a lot of the THC, CBDs are an excreted molecule. They extracellular, the cells produce them and pushes them out into the plant, and then they come up and they form gooey sap sacs. And so you're pulling off the sap sacs is what everybody's focused on. And yes, the sap sacs have like all of it. Intercellular, the CBDs, the CBGs, the CBCs, all of these terpenoids, not terpenes, but terpenoids are there. So intracellular, you've got maybe 8% THC, but 30-40% CBDs, CBGs, CBNs, CBCs. CBCs are great. I've been isolating CBCs out and giving them to people, and they're fixing their depression and makes them want to eat. I don't know about you, but if you make people happy and feed them lots of food, they are always much more happier. I mean, they've been doing great things. CBCs are doing really, really great things. How do they work? I don't know. And we haven't studied it. But so what I do is I extract it through alcohol. I then clean it up through a specialized cleanup process that I have. Very all natural. No chemicals involved. Well, nothing naturally produced. It's all. We're not allowed in the 502 system in Washington to use very many chemicals. It would have been a lot easier if the FDA rules applied, but in Washington I can use vegetable oil, glycerin, propylene glycol, antifreeze, and and ethanol and butane and CO2 to do extractions. That's it. What?
Propane as well.
Yeah, propane, yes. But that's all I can. I can't use anything else. So I'm following all the rules for my cleanup process. It's all natural. Won't get into it because I'm getting 5 patents on it, but it's an all natural, easy cleanup process. And I clean up large vats at a time. So I run through 700 to 1,100 pounds of cannabis out of my extractor. I get, and this is from BHO after they've extracted the BHO off, so I get like an 5 to 8% yield off of that. So I end up with, out of 700 pounds this time, I ended up with 12 gallons of whole plant extract. And out of those 12 pounds, I'll end up with 12 gallons, I'll end up with like 3 gallons of oil. So I do large batch systems. That's why it really takes 8 weeks, is I'm extracting for like 2 weeks of that. Just constantly taking all of this in there, putting in the large tanks. My tanks are 80 gallons in size, so they hold 150 pounds of cannabis at a time. And it doesn't matter what I put into it, because my process is the process. If I put fire into it, I get a better yield. But if I put shit into it, the greatest thing, it doesn't need to be dried. It doesn't need to be trimmed. I can take the plant out of the ground, run it through a wood chipper, put it through my process, and extract all the oil out. No labor involved. That is the biggest thing that I've tried to develop, is get rid of the labor involved in it. It's really expensive to make oil. Cannabis is really cheap though now. I mean,
so again,
really
part
is.
of what I was asking earlier about the results, I'm just kind of curious. I know that's kind of arbitrary too, but with someone that takes material at home and they, go through the thing they see on YouTube,
they're going to get a 50% THC to 60% THC. If you got super fire, you might get higher. You're going to end up with 20% other compounds and about 30% chlorophyll.
And in the process that you're doing,
I end up with the same amount.
oh, okay.
I will end up with the same amount. But if you do a full extraction, if you do a partial, the lower the amount of extractions or lower amount of washes you do, the lower amount of whole plant you get in there. So if you do one wash, you're going to get a lot of the trichomes. You'll end up with like a 70-80% THC, 10% chlorophyll, 10% other material, and the rest chlorophyll. So you get your chlorophyll down to 20%. That's why a lot of people advocate like a quick wash. It's because that quick wash allows them to have a higher THC. Everybody wants to get stoned. We've been told THC gets you high. But as I said before, THC doesn't get you high. It doesn't. That's the funniest thing. It's blocking a receptor site. That receptor site being blocked gets you high. Because now there's more of that compound out there. So there is a misconception that we need lots of THC. And quite honestly, most people can't tell the difference between above 40% THC. I mean, you guys smoke way more concentrates than I do, but if you don't tell somebody that what the concentrational level is, most people can't tell above 40%. They're smoking it, they keep smoking it. If you tell, I've done it. I've given people say a 40% THC and told them it was a 90%, and they told me how high they got, much higher than normal. I've given them 90% and told them it was 40%, and they told me how weak it was. I mean, it just, the people that say they can tell the difference between above a 40%, most of it might be psychological. I don't know. Your body can only process so much at a time. I'm really just, I'm out of really material to talk about. But, yeah, any other questions? Nothing. I broke it. No, I'm good at breaking computers. Me and electronics.
Oh yeah, he's not disagreeing by anything.
Okay, so I guess the other part, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, find out more information.
My company is Footprint Biosciences. Company's phone number is 360-970-2344, which is us actually my cell phone. Because we're all cheap and we don't buy company phones. I work by myself most of the time. And we can get a hold of me and ask any questions they want. I will give everybody an honest answer, unless I don't want to tell them, and then I just tell them I don't want to tell them.